Shabbat Shalom. This coming Shabbat we read the Torah portion of Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. It's a little misleading. Sarah dies at the beginning of the Torah portion and Abraham looks to find a place to bury her. But we call it the life of Sarah because it's some greater reminder that we are supposed to focus on life, not death. But in reality, this entire portion and the Haftorah, on some big or broad level, really talk about death. The middle of the Torah portion is the story of Abraham trying to find a wife for his beloved son Isaac. But the reality is that too is somewhat at least connected to death because it's the last thing that Abraham wants to do before he dies, because as the text tells us, before he does it, he is advanced in years, almost as if to tell us before he dies, he has to do this one last thing. But I want to focus on the juxtaposition of the Haftorah and the Torah reading. In the Torah reading, we're presented the vision of Abraham dying. Abraham, who kind of needs to clean up some things before he dies, finding a place for Sarah, a wife for Isaac, as I mentioned. But in reality, Abraham is able to die with a clear conscience. His final wishes are to better the people around him and to provide for the future. David provides a much greater and different vision of what happens on a deathbed. David wants to settle scores. He wants his son Solomon to get those people, quote unquote, that betrayed him or that fought against him and that he hasn't been able to get. The reality is the Bible prevents this vision of death where if you're not murdered, you get to sit on your deathbed and have this grand exit that could only be depicted in a movie. Most of us, unfortunately, don't get the benefit of that. But I think in this grand vision of how we die in the Bible, and specifically this week in the difference between David and Abraham, it's a reminder not about how we die like the name of the Torah portion tells us, but how we're supposed to live. Do we want to end up like King David, where on our deathbed we have all these scores to settle and all this anger in our heart? Or like Abraham, who seems content, seems blessed by a long life and the knowledge of that long life, and seems like, although it's difficult, he's ready to let go. I guess the choice of how we die and when we die is not up to us, but how we live is. Shabbat Shalom.